Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault. And you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy
They
there.
got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
As the agent for Peyton Ansley, John Milton, you are indicating to me that you're quite familiar with Peyton Ansley, John Milton, and that's basically you. Is that correct?
I am the agent authorized to represent Peyton Ansley, John Milton, as written in all capital letters.
All right, and you understand for my purposes, that language doesn't make any sense. So
No, I do not.
I understand. Okay, well, I'm telling you that. And so until you disabuse me of the motion, or the notion, I am inclined to believe that you are both the agent and the person. So. And it's in
I'm
all
not a
caps.
person, I am one of the people. Thank you.
There it is. I'm not a person, I'm one of the people. I am the Recovery Addict. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Good to have you here. It is a fantastic Tuesday. It is wonderful to be here. We have a new little court case I stumbled upon in the same courtroom up in Thurston County, Washington, as our pro se defendant was supposed to be the other day, where he did not show up for court then either. He's out on the lam. As far as I know, the police have not found him yet. He's going to find out eventually. Eventually, his day will come. But here we are. And I stumbled across a interesting little case, actually. Sometimes first. Oh, hold on. Whoa. We have a bunch of things going on right now. Just 1 second. Well, that's wrong. That's not it. Fixed it. There we go. Paula Mack, welcome. Thank you very much. You're first in chat. You have won the internet. Congratulations. Our condolences. I love that you're wearing the hoodie, the prison escape hoodie. It looks awesome. You've won before. I know you can handle this. Thanks for being first in chat. The internet is all yours to take care of. Mostly it's just maintenance. It's you just have to fix everything for everybody. So if you can just stay on top of that today, we would appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. Next, we have Samantha Terry gifted 5 memberships. Miss Lisa also gifted 5 memberships. Ashley came in, 6-month membership. I'm not a person. I'm one of the people. Yes, you know what's coming. Ashley, thank you so much. Wonderful to see that yellow courthouse by your name as well. And we also have Kim R. So look at me. I look great in yellow. 6 months. And so thankful to be here. Love my RA family. Thanks for all the gifts and the monthly gift giver. Thank you to everybody. Kelly, 4 months. Best place on YouTube. Thank you so much, Kelly. It's been wonderful 4 months. Look forward to many more with you. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, let me back up just a little bit because this case sort of caught me off guard, and then I found it the other day on accident as we were looking through all the stuff we were looking through. I need to get rid of this. I don't need that anymore. Okay, I don't need. Well, we're going to use that later. That's this one. Oh, buffer. Birthdays, right? Birthdays. Whew. Okay. I forgot the birthdays. How could I forget the birthdays? I cannot forget the birthdays. All right. We have Zimmy's sister, Mexi. So Mexi. Laura Pertula. Gordon.
Someone with more experience.
Yeah, send him with more experience next time. Gordon's here. Miss Lisa. Ivan Victor's dad, Boris. All have birthdays today. Right. We're going to sing to Boris as well. So let me get this list right because we've got sort of like relatives on the list as well. So we have to just make some small edits. When are we going to break for lunch? We have Mexi's up there. Laura Petula. Okay. Gordon is feeling younger and younger every year. There we go. Gordon, congratulations. Miss Lisa. And Boris. Oh, my goodness. And membership messages are flooding in. Colin 911, welcome to the gallery. Wonderful to have you here as a new member. Thank you so much.
I'm not a kid.
Let's see. We also have Little B. Jury. Yes, we have a jury trial today as well. Little B, thank you very much. Appreciate you being a member of the jury as well. Padded seats for the jury. Regina Crawford, you always brighten my day. Thank you, Regina. Thank you very much for being here. March 13, can you wish Archie, my fur baby, a 4th birthday? Let's just throw Archie on the list. Okay, we're going to throw Archie on the list. We'll sing to Archie as well. We've got like 7 people now, and it's going to be really hard to fit it in, but we'll do it. Courtney Meek, y'all make my mornings great. So glad I was directed your way, Scott. Can't imagine starting my day any other way. I can't imagine starting my day any other way either. Courtney Meek, it's wonderful to be with you all. Thank you so much. We have a lot of birthdays. Mexi, Laura, Gordon, Mrs. Miss Lisa, Boris, and Archie. Do you guys think we could fit all those in? And Buttercup's birthday was yesterday. Oh my goodness, Rebecca, I missed Buttercup's birthday. Give her an extra pat and an extra milk bone for me. Buttercup, can we sing to Buttercup as well since we have Archie on here? We'll sing to Buttercup with the B. Just one of them though. There we go. All right, this is definitely a 2-verser. I think we're going to do Mexi, Laura, Gordon, and Lisa, and then Boris, Archie, and Buttercup. Ivan, is Boris okay being grouped with some furry friends? Is that all right? I don't think he'd mind. I think Boris is a nice guy, as is Ivan, good friend of mine. All right, here we go. Let's everybody get your vocal cords warmed up. Here we go. Practice. La, 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 la. I don't want you guys being quiet there in the back. Just because you snuck in late doesn't mean you can't sing. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mexi, Laura, Gordon, and Mrs. Miss Lisa. Happy birthday to you. Now we have a little interlude. Next is Boris, Archie, and Buttercup. Oh. Let's see. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Boris, Archie, and Buttercup. Happy birthday to you. Is there anyone whose birthday we missed out on that? Does your family sing? Of course, I can hear them singing in the other room now. They don't want me to turn the music down. The party never stops here. Yeah, we're jamming. Lisa is good. It's easier. We managed to fit it in. All right. Happy birthday to everyone who's celebrating a birthday today or yesterday. Sorry, Buttercup. Then I hope today is the most fantastic day of the year for you. I hope that whatever we do today can bring you a little more happiness and cheer in your life. And I thank you for spending your special day with us, where you could be down at Denny's getting free pancakes. There are some places that give you birthday discounts, a piece of cake for free on the side. There's lots of places who will celebrate your special day. But here you are with us, and that privilege is not lost on me. Thank you so much. Let's see. Rudy Patootie says, happy day to all the birthday-ers. Yes, for sure. Also, Dale says, oh, wow. Yellow Courthouse time. Best place to be. 6 months. That's like an unbirthday, Dale. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. Whew. Birthday song just goes and goes. It's hard to turn that one down. It gets us going in the morning. All right. Thank you, Dale. 6 months. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you as well. All right. Now let's go back to, if I missed anyone, I truly apologize. I don't think I missed anybody. Let's see. Jane says 7 months today. 7. Woot, woot. Let's see. I don't think I missed anybody. I think we're good. Let me tell you a little bit about this court case that we're going to watch. We had jury selection yesterday, and we're going to see that. And I love that Thurston County shows us the jury. Literally, the jury is in the camera shot, and so we're going to get a little bit of jury selection. Unfortunately, Thurston County does not mic the potential jurors. So every time a juror is asked a question today, you're not going to hear the answer. I mean, there's like one or two that like yell the answer back, and we can hear that. But everybody else, you're not going to hear. And I just need you, when that happens, to just type what you think the juror should have said. This is you can work with it a little bit. Remember, this is a family-friendly show, but just anytime a question is asked of the jury specifically, like why would that be a problem for you? Then that's your time to fill in the blank. It's sort of like Mad Libs, but in jury selection. So we're gonna play that game. We are gonna seat a jury today. Because it happened yesterday, and we're catching up. And then today is the court date. But let me tell you a little bit about this case. First of all, this is a YouTuber. This is a YouTuber who he participates in something known as a First Amendment audit. And for those who have not fallen down this rabbit hole in YouTube before, let me show you a little bit about his page right here. This is who we're dealing with. Pacific Northwest Transparency. This gentleman has all these videos where he goes in. Let me clear the screen here, Jane, here, just 1 second. He goes in and films all these different locations. Let me read a couple of them off. Let's see. The system is rigged. Oh, no, we're not going to read that one. He goes to the Olympia Lacey Church of God, First Amendment audit. He does recording inside courtrooms, my Thurston County courthouse pretrial. He made videos about this case. Let me just say for the record what we've learned, if anything, don't post things about a current case online. But he does. He's done videos about this case. He goes in, films at Starbucks. They kick him out. His MO is he basically goes anywhere he can and starts filming, especially places that say don't film here. And he finds the line where he is legal and protected under the First Amendment, which is a thing. Okay, this is a real thing. He has protections. He has the right to do this. Does it tick people off? Yes. Is it really considered rude? Yes. But is it perfectly legal for him to do this? In most cases, I would say yes. Okay, so he has the law on his side. I'm appreciating your Amazon Best Buy tabs, Greeners. I've got tabs all over the place. Anyway, so we've got all these places. DSHS. This update. This is the case that he's on right now. Okay, and what happened there? He went and he's filming, and he's got some place where he went and he filmed, and apparently he wasn't even to the point where they say no filming, and there's alternate sets of facts, depends on who you talk to, but a security guard's involved. A witness says that there were punches thrown, and at the end of the day, he ends up in the back of a police car charged with assault. Okay. Did you go exchange your TVs? Yes, I did. I have the right ones now, and we set them up, so they're going to work. So I'll have them for my live stream of the parade on Thursday. So he's got all these videos, and some of them he goes in and just talks to like government workers and says, "Hey, I'm just filming what's visible. And it's sort of the same sort of theme throughout, but he's basically rating everyone on a pass-fail system of if they allow him to film in public, which is his First Amendment right. If they don't allow him to film, then that's encroachment of his First Amendment right. Then they fail. They don't understand the law. And there's a little bit of mocking and some abrasive language. Let's put it that way. So he's got all these videos. McDonald's apparently passed. Starbucks in Lacey, Washington passed on this one, but I think another one failed, if I remember correctly. USPS, you guys are my new kink. Yeah, he likes to wind up the post office. Because the post office has top-level rules that authorize it that he's allowed to film, and a lot of people don't know that. So this is the guy we have. Now he's actually in court, so let's go back here. We'll go full screen on this guy. Thurston County Court. So we have, how many subs does he have? About 10,000. I think he's 9,000-something subs. Gets a few thousand views per video. This is a thing. This is like a niche on the internet of First Amendment auditors. Some of them are great. Some of them are incredible. Some of them, there are some Second Amendment auditors as well. So it's interesting which they decide to do. Usually the Second Amendment ones are in Florida and they involve fishing. But you can fall down a rabbit hole if you just type First Amendment audit video on YouTube, and there's all these places. But rarely do we get to see the court side. Sorry, I'm showing you nothing right now, but rarely do we get to see the court side, which in this case, it's not really his right to film, whether that is is being tried or in the court system, because generally the right to film, the First Amendment, it's fairly well respected in court. If that went to court, usually it's sides on his side.
There's a lawsuit.
When are we breaking for lunch? It's more in the process of filming. It's possible to pick up charges, whether it's a trespassing charge or an assault charge in the altercation that ensues. And so it's we're going to watch from here. Is anyone from here from Thurston? Taminator says she's run into people like this. They come stick a camera in your face and ask you all the questions and demand paperwork and things that you're supposed to have. Some of them are a little abrasive. I think this guy tends to lean to the more abrasive side of the interaction. It makes better videos. And I'm not sure if that's his sole purpose of doing that or if that's just his nature. That was what I picked up in watching this. A real auditor does videos of government officials, not social services offices. That would be an agitator. I spelled it wrong. A First Amendment agitator. Anyway, so we're gonna go and watch jury selection. He is not pro se. He has representation. He's not also pro se. It would be extra weird if he was pro se. But yeah, buckle up. It's going to be fun. And then we already know he's done records requests of basically all the police video, of all the dash cam video, the body cam inside the car, of him being arrested in the back seat. He's got all the videos. He's got everything. And we're going to see how it ends up for him on this assault charge, because apparently he thinks that he was assaulted and they think that they were assaulted. And the witness says he was throwing punches at a gentleman. One interesting factor may be that there could be camera video evidence of this, because that's basically what he's doing during this altercation, is filming. So I don't know yet. Does Mr. Farag have a mugshot yet? I have not seen him be arrested yet. I keep checking the courthouse. Let's see. New tab, Thurston County. Thurston County jail roster. Oops. There we go, jail roster.
I'm not a camel.
I'm not a camel either. And why is it searching for that? Why read? Weird. I don't know what it's doing. Let's try this again. The web page would not work. Back. My phone's going nuts. What's this fellow's name? I had it a minute ago, and I'll pull it up for you just a minute. It's at the beginning of this video. Thurston County jail roster. Quick search of the Corrections Bureau for Mr. Farag. No information. They have not got him yet, because he's got a no bail warrant. But this is somebody else that we're dealing with right now. So let's go to, without further ado, let me make sure the audio is going to the right place. It goes to BMI. Reset. Close that. Play and take. Here we go.
Anything we need to discuss before the panel comes in?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Okay. And then when I, as everyone does, introduce the attorneys, who's the lead attorney for the city? Excuse me, Mr. Fortunato. I'll have you introduce yourself, and then you can introduce Mr. Thompson that's sitting with you.
Okay.
And you
our
can
chairs to the other side now.
Yes, you can.
So the gentleman on the left who's about to scoot his chair around crab style is the defendant. The lady next to him that's dragging her chair, she is his attorney. And the gentleman in the gray suit is a prosecutor, as is the other gentleman that went off the other way. This is the regular drill. They move around to the other side because the jury's going to come in.
We have to worry about picking.
I'm sorry?
We have to worry about the microphone on this podium picking up.
No, I think that, I mean, where are you going to speak from? You can speak from,
Most of the time, I'm gonna speak from my chair.
okay, if you could, I think you're close enough. And
Yeah, he
just
figured
sing
out.
it loud and proud.
Sing it loud and
No,
proud.
I'm not wanting to be heard if I have to whisper to my clients.
No,
during-
it
should not pick you up.
I
Okay,
couldn't pick that
that's
up.
what I was.
Okay, legitimate concern. I don't want to overhear her consulting with the client, but we do want to hear her when she asks questions from her chair of the jury because she is anti-podium. I think there's something in the water, honestly, up there in Thurston County. They seem to have a larger percentage of these types of situations. Defendant is on the very left. I believe it is a public defender. I believe it is. Okay, we're gonna jump through just a little bit until the jury comes filing in because there's a little bit of waiting. It's funny because the court. Oh, here's the jury. Here we go. They should play like graduation music or something, or "Here Comes the Bride" or something. Nice, respect. They stand for the jury. That's good. First row's here. Second row. 2 days in a row, they've had a dog in the courtroom, apparently. This one is a service dog, which is acceptable. Does YouTube let you say wackadoo? I do. Go ahead. And here comes our back row of jurors. Now, I want you to watch body language of jurors to see who does not want to be there. Because I've watched this before, and I think juror number 2,
who would be seated in the courtroom.
I call him juror number 2. He's this gentleman right over here, the second guy to come in and sit down.
So, good afternoon, everybody.
Fan.
First of all, thank you all for appearing here for jury duty. It's afternoon, but you're probably here since this morning. I just want to thank you all for appearing here today. Thurston County has one of the highest rates of juror attendance throughout the state. We're all proud of that, and you should be too,
for
showing up for
Mr.
this
Frog.
important civic duty. And so a couple of things, just regard to, we're in a big room, you're all spread out. This is kind of frankly, a holdover from the COVID situation when everybody was spaced way out. So I'm going to be speaking as loudly.
They just haven't had a chance to move the chairs yet.
But if anytime anyone cannot hear me or any of the other participants in the trial, let me know right away. Either wave your hand if I'm looking at you, or call out, "Excuse me," or "I'm sorry, you didn't hear it." And so it's really important that everybody hears everything that goes on, both during the selection process as well as the trial. And the trial you've been called for here today is a criminal case brought by the city of Tumwater against the defendant Jeremiah Shane Farley. And in this case, the prosecuting attorney is Mr. Isaac Fortunato. Mr. Fortunato, could you
Jeremiah
stand,
Shane
yourself,
Farley,
as well as who else is seated with you at council table?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Isaac Fortunato. I am here on behalf of the city of Tumwater, and I'm here with my co-counsel, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Corey Thompson, who is my supervisor and will be here through the duration of the trial.
His boss is there.
Thank you, Mr. Fortunato.
He doesn't look down on his boss.
In this
even though
case,
he's like
the defense attorney is Ms. Michelle Rowe. Ms. Rowe, could you please stand, introduce yourself as well as your client?
Yes, my name is Michelle Rowe. I'm the defense attorney here in Thurston County. And seated to my left is Mr. Farley.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe. In this case, the defendant is charged with the crime of assault in the 4th degree. Specifically, this charge alleges that on or about July 20, 2023, Jeremiah Shane Farley in the city of Tumwater, the state of Washington, did assault another person, namely Randy Rainey. And as you hear about this case during the selection process as well as the trial, I want you all to keep in mind that a charge is only an accusation. The filing of a charge is not evidence that the charge is true. Your decisions as jurors must be made solely upon the evidence presented during these proceedings. To the charge of assault in the 4th degree, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty. The plea of not guilty means that you, the jury, must decide whether the city has proved each element of the crime charged. The city has the burden of proving every element beyond a reasonable doubt, and the defendant has no burden of proving that a reasonable doubt exists, and the defendant has no duty to call witnesses, produce evidence, or testify. The defendant is presumed to be innocent, and this presumption of innocence continues throughout the entire trial. The presumption means that you must find the defendant not guilty unless you conclude at the end of your deliberations that the evidence has established the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is one for which a reason exists that may arise from the evidence or lack of evidence, and a reasonable doubt is a doubt that would exist in the mind of a reasonable person after fully, fairly, and carefully considering all of the evidence or lack of evidence. If from such consideration you have an abiding belief of the truth of the charge, you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt. And so I'm going to have you all stand once again and raise your right hand. And do all of you, each of you solemnly swear and affirm that you will truthfully answer questions about your qualifications to act as jurors in this case? If so, please answer by saying, I will. I will. You can put your hands down, then you may sit down. And was anybody unable or unwilling to answer affirmatively to that question? Now, the remarks I make, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and the remarks I make, the questions I ask, and the questions I permit the attorneys to ask, and the instructions I give are directed to the attention of every potential juror in this courtroom. And all of you are cautioned to pay close attention to all of these proceedings. In order that this case be tried before an impartial jury, the lawyers and I are going to ask you questions, and we're not trying to embarrass you. We're not trying to pry into your private affairs, but what we're trying to do is determine if you are unbiased and without preconceived ideas which might affect this case. You should not withhold information in order to be seated on this particular jury. You should be truthful in your answers rather than answering in the way you feel the lawyers or the court expect you to answer. It is presumed that when a jury has been selected and accepted by both sides, each of you will keep an open mind until the case is finally submitted and will accept the instructions of the court and will base any decision upon the law and the facts uninfluenced by any other considerations. And the purpose of these questions is to determine if you have that frame of minds.
Okay, bring on the questions.
So first of all, you've met the attorneys, both from the prosecutor as well as the defense attorney, as well as Mr. Farley. Are any of you familiar with any of these folks that you've met thus far at council table? I should have introduced myself at the beginning. My name is Sam Meyer. I'll be the judge throughout these proceedings. Seated to my immediate left is Mindy Ballinger. She'll be the clerk. Really running the show in these proceedings. Am I a familiar name, or do you know, sometimes people recognize me and not necessarily? I have a number of brothers who work here in Thurston County and Olympia, but I don't want you to hold me responsible for their activity. And then Ms. Ballinger, juror number 2.
I know your brother, Tom. I consider him a friend.
Okay. And then you've known him for a number of years?
Yes.
Okay. And then he's an attorney. Was he a client of yours, or are you a client of his, I should say?
We have been clients of each other.
Oh, got it. And so anything about that relationship, I don't know that I've ever met you. I don't think I have. But anything about that relationship affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case? Okay. Anybody else either know familiar with myself or Ms. Ballinger? Potential witnesses in this case include Officer Peter Navarro from the Tumwater Police Department, Detective Tyler Bowling from the Tumwater Police Department, Randy Rainey, Cole Smith, and Samuel Kirkley. Are those familiar names to anybody? Anybody familiar with any of those folks? Juror number, and I can't read your number, ma'am, in the back. Juror number 17.
She says something like,
I think they're familiar. Or is it just a familiar sounding name?
I don't know if it's someone, if I saw them, I would know them, but it's very.
Okay. Can you say how you know this person?
I honestly couldn't. I work in a casino. I hear a lot of.
Okay.
She works in the casino. Okay. Apparently they come in and gamble.
We might circle back with that in a few minutes, or I might let the attorneys follow up on that. Anybody else have any connection to any of those names?
Silence.
And then you've heard Mr. Fortunato works in the prosecuting attorney's office. Anybody know or acquainted with anybody else from the prosecuting attorney's office here in Thurston County?
There's a long pause.
You've heard that at least 2 witnesses are currently employed by the Tumwater Police Department. Any other law enforcement officers on the panel? Anybody work for a police or sheriff's department or anything like that? Anybody? Okay, juror number 10. Explain to me your connection to law enforcement, ma'am.
It's my brother, and he was in law enforcement.
Your brother's law enforcement out of the area.
And then, but not here locally? Okay. Anything, and I'm going to ask that general question in just a second, but anything about the relationship you had with him, conversations you may have had with him about his job affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case?
Sure.
Okay. Anybody have any close friends or relatives who were, and then when I call your number, you're going to
20.
Put the number down. What number are you, ma'am? Anybody else have any close friends or relatives? And then juror number 13. It's hard to see from here, although I can see your 13 there. Anyone else? And did I miss anybody on the previous question either? Any current law enforcement? Doesn't look like it. And then juror number 13, how close of a friend or relative? And then where does your brother work? In Nashville, Tennessee? Okay. And then currently still? Okay. Anything about conversations you may have had with him about his job, stories he may have told about things that have happened on the job affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case? Juror number 20. How close of a friend or relative?
Family. So my brother-in-law and my niece.
Okay. And then where does he work?
And
so also not
the attorney
locally.
here, the prosecutor,
and
has
then
something to say.
anything, same set of questions, anything that conversations you may have had with him about his job affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case?
I don't think so. 3 of my nephews work at the jail. We hear lots of stories.
You're in the jail here in Thurston County?
I know.
Okay.
Nothing like those good old jail stories.
And so anything about that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case?
We're not getting to her anywhere because she's the very
And so,
last
and again,
one.
what, the purpose of these
Everyone else would
questions,
have to be
where, everybody comes into court with certain, biases and life experience. You're going to be asked, if you're selected to be on this jury, to decide the case based on the evidence presented and from the witness stand, as well as any exhibits admitted. And just on that, and what folks are looking for to make sure that your outside experience doesn't color or affect your ability to do that. So,
Your Honor, I do know juror number 5 spouse.
I'm sorry?
I know juror number 5 spouse.
Ooh.
Oh.
What?
Okay. Does juror number 5 know that? Juror number 5.
Apparently not.
I did notice. Okay, I mean, I will tell everyone what you and I and Mr. Thompson already know. Your husband's an attorney, and he appears in this court fairly frequently. And so, and apparently, he knows that he may have had cases with Mr. Thompson, or maybe they know each other beyond that. But anything about that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case? Anything about that relationship?
I don't believe so.
Okay. The attorneys might follow up on that. And so, and I was going to get to that because I'm going to ask another general question here in just a moment. Okay. Thank you for answering. And if anything does come up that might lead you to say otherwise, let me know. But for now, again, the attorneys may follow. I'm not going to, but the attorneys may follow up on that. I mean, it's not uncommon. We've had attorneys who actually do practice here appear on jury pools. And so that's not all that uncommon for you to be here.
In a jury selection.
And if you work in juror number 5, you don't need to respond to this, although I don't know that you work there, but did anybody work in a law office or work with attorneys? And juror number 19, where do you work, ma'am? Okay. And then, and a number of attorneys in that case do criminal law as well. Anything about your job and well, let me back up a little bit. What do you do there, ma'am? Okay.
She tunes pianos. Is that what she said?
Got it. Anything about That occupation, again, things you may have heard the attorney say around the office, your opinions of the system, so to speak, affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case. Thank you. Anyone else? So you've heard what the charge is. The charge is assault in the 4th degree. Anybody ever been charged with assault before?
Think that one over.
Anybody have any friends?
Oh,
close?
there it
Okay,
is.
juror
Boom.
number 3.
Admission.
Have you've been charged before? Okay. Was that here in Thurston County? And how long ago was that? That experience, about 10 years ago, I guess.
Case is pending.
Anything about that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case?
He doesn't want to serve. He's still talking. He's telling the story about why he was wronged and charged wrongfully for assault. He's definitely not going to be selected. As a matter of fact, I think he's going to be excused by the judge.
The last part of that I didn't hear. All right. So is what you're telling me that your experience combined with the other description would affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case?
He says,
okay.
yep.
Okay. I'm going to have you, can you just sit there for a few more moments? I'm going to ask a series of questions here, and then I may come back to you in just a moment. All right?
Just don't disrupt the thing when you leave.
And I appreciate your honest answers. Anybody else? Any of you have any friends or relatives who've been charged with assaults? Have any of you ever been assaulted?
Oh, here we go. The other side of the coin.
Anybody have any close friends or relatives who've been assaulted?
I'm surprised the defendant didn't raise his hand. He said, yes, that's why we're here.
So I'm going to turn things over. Well, actually, I have two other
Your Honor,
sets of questions.
I believe juror number 6 had raised her hand.
Okay, I may have missed you because you were blocked there. Go ahead, ma'am. And then you are? Yeah. Okay. And so how long ago, ma'am? 2020. Okay, this case, I will tell you, this case is not domestic violence related, but I do understand some of the things that folks experience in that regard. Would your experience affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case? Okay, and thank you. And again, I also appreciate your honest and candid response. Thank you. Anybody here have any previous
who's
jury
off
duty
for sure
of any sort?
Oh, wow.
You can put your hands down. I'm not going to follow up on that, but that previous jury duty, anything about that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case? Hopefully it wasn't such a distasteful experience that you think, man, I'm never going through that again. Or if I do, I'm going to take a whole different approach to this. But that previous jury duty, would that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror in this case? Last series of questions I'm going to ask is scheduling, timing. We're going to be here most of the afternoon here today to pick the jury, and then we may get started a little bit with the trial this afternoon, and then we should be in session pretty much most or all of the day tomorrow. Given the number of witnesses we have, there are 5, but I do expect we'll be able to conclude the trial tomorrow. Worst case scenario will bleed into Wednesday morning, but that's highly unlikely. In that schedule, as I've laid that out, would that present an undue hardship for anybody to serve as a juror? I do recognize that it's inconvenient for everyone to be here. When I say undue hardship, and I'll get to you in a minute, undue hardship of non-refundable tickets to Hawaii tomorrow afternoon, I would let you go for that. Oh, but I did see some hands go up when I asked that, and so I'm going to take the numbers and I am going to follow up with each one of those.
We're in Thurston County, Washington.
Okay, we have number 1.
The city
number 5
is Tumwater.
And then in the back, what's your name, man? What's 13. Your number? I'm sorry. 13, I'm sorry.
Juror number 8 also, Your Honor. And
okay, thank you. And then juror number 17?
8 and 17.
Okay, I got 17. So I have numbers.
Oh, and 20.
I have 1, 5, 8, 13, 17, and 20. Anyone else? Juror number 1.
Associate's degree at PSEC, and it's finals week. I have a final exam tomorrow and next.
Okay. He's got a final tomorrow.
Juror number 5.
He's getting his degree. He's in college. Juror number 5, you can make up whatever you want here because we can't hear
her. Juror number 8. Yes. Three what were scheduled? For tomorrow?
Might be medical, something scheduled for tomorrow.
And juror number 13.
These are good excuses so far. She's saying, I wash my pet goldfish
Say
every
that again,
Wednesday.
ma'am. Okay. And then, okay, and then do they have attention today? Okay, and then what's the schedule like tomorrow? What is that? At 2:45? Okay.
Sounds like with children. She's got children that need pick up.
And then juror number 17.
I just work at a casino, so my wage is pretty much based on shift. Day to day.
Okay.
Really cut it out.
So financial hardship.
And then juror number 20.
20 basically says same as her.
Where do you work, ma'am?
Something based management, package based management or something. Another company that doesn't pay jurors.
Anyone else?
When they serve. Good excuses. I think we're almost ready for the attorneys to ask a few questions.
Okay, so what's going to happen now is I'm going to have the attorneys going to come up here. We're going to talk a little bit, and it's probably going to look like we're trying to keep this conversation from you because that's exactly what we're trying to do. So don't try and eavesdrop on what's happened here. We're going to talk just for, won't take but a minute or two, and then we'll come back into session here in just a second. So Ms. Rowe and either or both of you.
Okay, so attorneys come up. This is where they're discussing the jurors that should be removed for cause. For cause means the judge has identified in his broad questioning of the jurors that they have a legitimate reason why they should not be allowed to serve. Okay, not be allowed. And it could be like the guy with the assault, the previously charged with assault. They're like, okay, clearly the bias that he may come into the courtroom with is above and beyond what we should expect to have on a jury. So he would not be allowed to serve. He's also going to consider those who have legitimate reasons to, the trip to Hawaii, the dude with the finals test tomorrow for his degree. Probably he's going to get out of it. Okay, so they're going over these ones right now, and these are the ones the judge strikes. Then they're going to have some more questions, and the remaining jurors are going to the two counsels are going to have the opportunity to strike preemptive strikes. Just, we don't like that person, or we just don't feel that's a good fit for our jury, and they don't need to have a reason for that. But that's the way it's happening. We're going to fast forward just a little bit through here. Wait for them to come back. Oh, there we go.
Reapproach.
Oh, what was that?
Oh, could counsel reapproach?
They got halfway to their seats.
Juror number 20, I was informed by the clerk. Did you or something you wanted to say?
It's like, yeah, Judge, when's lunch? Do we get our parking pass
question, ma'am?
Validated?
Understanding. So she told me to explain my situation. I can just.
I'm not sure.
So, okay, so when you were talking, I have to see you directly the view of you were being blocked. It's hard for me to understand what you're saying. So sometimes in that environment, I'll have to ask the person, can you explain that differently so I understand it? So I don't know if that would come up in court.
she has a difficult time understanding questions sometimes and have to ask for repeats.
Okay. Okay, that's fair enough. And so, thank you for explaining that.
Bite me. You might want to just show up just in
I think
case.
everyone understands where we are. For right now, for the entire panel,
she has the
and we
least
can
chance
maybe
of being
revisit this
impaneled.
later, ma'am. I am going to have you go through the selection process.
She's number 20.
And but juror number 1, juror number 3, and juror number 8. I'm going to allow you folks to be excused right now.
Those are for cause.
And you can take off your, I guess they're stickers now. So they used to be pins, but they're stickers now. So you can keep those with you. And, but they need to go back. And so you folks can be excused. I've allowed you folks to go. And
dog's like, I'm out of here. Not another
your
moment.
term of jury service is complete. You do not need to call back. And thank you for appearing here today.
She's like, I'm winning. I'm getting first out the door. Appreciate them showing up to serve, but they are not needed because they have. You can go study for your final, juror number 1.
And for everybody else, please give your attention to Mr. Fortunato for his voir dire on behalf of the city.
We're down to
for the next
17. We
15
only need
minutes.
6
Mr.
plus an
Fortunato.
alternate. 6 plus an
Thank you,
alternate.
Your
for this one.
So good afternoon, everyone. I am very excited to be here on behalf of the city of Tumwater. I'm here, as mentioned, with DPA Corey Thompson.
My boss.
So I just want to begin by saying, if you can all raise your hand, if you are excited to be here.
Who's here? Who's excited to be here, guys?
You are excited
Juror
to
number
be
7.
here. Juror number 7. Can you tell us why you're excited to be here?
I'm just jazzed to be on the show.
Wow.
He's been called
okay.
8 times and never been
That's
impaneled.
wonderful to hear. And everyone else, correct me if I'm wrong, one more time. Anyone else excited to be here?
The correct answer is no. Nobody should be excited to be here.
I appreciate this because you are all honest. And that is a value we need in our juries.
He's getting emotional here.
With that, I want to get into a little bit of this here, but I also wanted to ask you, does anyone really not want to be here? We've talked about why you might not be able to be here. We've talked about why you might be prevented from being here. But does anyone just really, really, really not want to be on a jury today and tomorrow?
There we go.
Keep your
14.
hands raised. So I see juror number 13.
Number 17.
And juror number 14. Forgive me.
14. 14, 17.
It's juror number 17? Okay. And you certainly do not have to share, but if you wouldn't mind, or if you would be comfortable sharing, feel free to do so. It might give me a little more information to work off of. Juror 14, do you feel comfortable sharing why you really don't want to be here?
Make up a good reason, guys.
For work? You've already done jury duty. How many times did you say? Twice. Okay.
Like, I did my service. Why do I keep
And juror
getting
number
called?
17, do you feel comfortable sharing why it is you do not want to be here, really don't want to be here this week? Okay. That's understandable.
She's a server. She's not making tips. She's not working. She's not making money. She's like, get me
I
out of here.
appreciate you both sharing that, and I appreciate everyone else kind of truncating that in that you don't want to be here, but you know you don't really, really not want to be here. And that is somewhere in the frame of where we're looking for jurors, if we're honest, because we understand this isn't maybe your most ideal situation, just aside from juror number 7, your ideal situation of what you'd be doing with a Monday and a Tuesday.
What about
after Thanksgiving? We understand that, but we appreciate you being here and doing this. So, how many of you have been to a government office of any kind?
All of you should raise your hand because you're
Just
in
raise
one.
your hand. And by a government office, I should speak a little more clearly here. I mean like an administrative office of a government of any kind.
They're more confused now than before.
Well, understandable. All but, I believe, juror number 15.
He's like, I'm a soft sit.
So,
I don't do those.
oh, you did raise your hand. Forgive me. You just probably put it down before I was able to take full note of everybody here. Do you want to just share some of the government offices that you were thinking of off the top of your hands? I'm going to call on random people.
Top of your bat,
I hope that's
top of your
okay.
hands.
Juror number 4.
I think you meant head.
What government office came to your mind when you were raising your hand? DMV, certainly.
Everyone's nodding.
You've got a license. If you drive a vehicle, that's certainly somewhere you've been. Juror number, why don't I go with juror number 9? What government office were you thinking of? A lot. Okay. Aside from the DMV, what's one you were thinking of? Courthouse. Okay. Juror number 12. What government office came to mind when you rose your hand?
Aside from those two, I worked for the Department of Health. I worked for Department of Licensing, and Security, and Wildlife.
Oh wow. Okay.
He's worked for every government agency.
Side, so I've been over Capitol.
The Capitol, Department of Health, Department of Wildlife.
Okay.
Department of Licensing.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you all sharing. I'm sure. Does anyone have an office aside from those that were mentioned that they really want to share that they've been to? Maybe a unique one that you don't go to every day.
Is he parole?
Appreciate
parole
it.
Board?
Okay.
No.
So when you are at these offices, have you seen a sign that says no audio or visual recording?
Ooh, now we're getting into the good stuff.
Raise your hand if you've seen that sign.
No one raised their hand, and now they all do.
Just about everybody. Okay.
Good.
So, can anyone think of any reason why such a sign would be present in a government administrative office? And by this, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be randomly calling on individuals to think of some reasons, and then I will ask the group if they have any reasons aside from those that were mentioned. Juror number 6, can you think of go ahead. Confidentiality. Okay, that's a great reason.
Oppressive government regime. Is anyone going to say that?
Juror number 14, what's a reason why why a no audio or visual recording sign would be present in a government office? Security. Okay.
Nice.
How about you, juror number 19? They are. Okay. So you mentioned security and confidentiality. Does anyone have any other reason that they can think of why a no audio or visual recording sign would be present in a government office, aside from confidentiality and security?
Apparently the super sticker voice is still turned on. Thank you,
Personal privacy. Okay. Wonderful. So going juror number 5, go ahead. Certainly. So
whatever that
I want to be sure I'm understanding you correctly. It's more that the information and potentially what's being discussed is sensitive information that you don't necessarily want to be recorded, if I'm understanding you correctly.
It's almost testifying there.
And beyond that, I kind of want to get into a little bit more about what some of that information might be. So everybody take like a second and think of something you might not want anyone else to record,
and then tell us about
audio or visually in your head, and you don't have to tell me what it is.
No, you do.
But I'm going to ask a random assortment of you what some of those things might be.
You don't have to tell me, but I'm going to ask you, and you're under oath. So think of the most embarrassing thing you could somebody could film about you, and share with the rest of the world what that is right now.
Are we good?
Everyone's like, don't pick me, don't
juror
pick me,
number
don't pick
15,
me.
what is something you would not want to be audio or visually recorded at a government facility? Okay. And is it specifically the will, or is it something within the will? Okay, the contents of it. Juror number 18, what's something you wouldn't want to be filmed or recorded at a government facility? Okay, okay. Juror number 16, what is something you wouldn't want to be recorded at a government facility that you might be there for?
Even knowing that done something, should be in court, whoever it is.
Okay, okay. Does anyone else have anything else that they're thinking of that hasn't already been shared that might be something they really don't want on another person's device?
Me committing a crime.
So I have a couple hands. I'll go with juror number 7.
Security information, so you have like security officer, the things that they do, certain routines or something, so routine can be reported, so it could have been security.
Okay.
He's supposed to be
Who
asking
else had their
questions.
hand up? Juror number
So far, I think he's good.
17. Go ahead. Certainly. Personal identifying information. Yes. Okay. And who else had their hand up? Number 5, juror number 5.
Behavioral health information. Also, construction plans of bridges and ways. All considered.
I don't want my
Okay.
construction
that's
plans.
wonderful. Anyone else have their hand up
my
that
safe
wants
room?
to share
Is that what she said?
something that hasn't already been shared? All right. Well, I appreciate that. Just one moment here. So do we think that this might be truer in certain government administrative facilities than others? Certain government facilities, you may have a more heightened sense of confidentiality or desire for confidentiality of that information than other government facilities. Raise your hand if you think that that is a true statement. So it looks like a fair number of you said yes. Why would you say yes, juror number 10?
Because I would think that, like, a court or something like that was being confidential.
And what's in your mind?
Everything should be
an office
confidential
that
in
you would
court.
have less of a concern about confidentiality or security. Potentially. Okay. Okay. Juror number 9, you did not raise your hand. Could you give a little information about why you did not think that there was a certain higher or lower need for confidentiality within government facilities?
I suppose there might be examples, but
Couldn't think of any. Okay.
I raised my hand, but I didn't have an answer. That's what he said.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
We've talked a bit about rights or rather a sense of confidentiality you have when you go into a government administrative facility.
Public building.
Does anyone here think that there is no such need for confidentiality in those facilities?
The defendant needs to raise his hand right now.
Have a desire
Because he said, does anyone here?
Protected in your information you share at those facilities. Does anyone disagree with what we've talked about?
Okay, because if you do, you're off the jury. Seeing none.
I'm seeing no hands. So, I would like to ask, if you were at a government facility and you were recording something, and someone there told you to stop recording.
Objection, Your Honor. I object to this line of questioning.
I object to this line of questioning.
I'm going to overrule the objection. You can continue.
Thank you.
Hand on hip.
I'm going to ask the same question. If you were at a government facility and you were told to stop recording after you had already started recording on a recording device, Who would immediately stop recording? Raise your hand.
The dude who just wants to be here is like, nope, I'd keep going. I'd already started.
I'm going to again ask random jurors what they're, to elaborate a little more. Juror number 20, could you describe to me why it is you rose your hand?
Because you told me to.
That's correct. That's correct.
You gave the right answer.
If I was, then I would stop.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
She says, I just follow orders.
Juror number 15, I believe you did raise your hand and said you would immediately stop recording. Do you want to elaborate a little more as to why it is you would do so?
I sort of not sure what the answer. So I would probably do it.
Incoming
I
note.
would stop recording. But I've seen enough videos and like that where some people in government facilities they aren't accurate with the law.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Oh, he watches this guy on
it's
YouTube.
the sort of question sometimes, if somebody tells me to stop, why? And I might ask the question.
Mm-hmm. Let me. Oh.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Fortunato.
So let me ask a different question. Would it matter who told you to stop recording? Raise your hand if it would make a difference to you in that same question I earlier asked. Who it was that told you to stop recording? So a fair percentage of you have said that it matters who. And juror number 7, you had not said that you would immediately stop recording. Who is it that would be necessary to tell you to stop recording for you to immediately stop?
I think, especially if I'm recording, there's a reason why I needed to record or capture someone. So it's just the mere presence of someone asking me would not necessarily be enough for me. But if it was someone like a bailiff, or if it was a law enforcement official, a judge, someone that was an authority, especially in the law, and I felt like we're making enough of a case, or not a confrontational person, I wouldn't immediately just want to turn off my recording.
And do we all agree with that?
Mr. Fortunato. Yeah, I'll let them answer that question, but then that's 15 minutes.
Okay. Raise your hand if you all agree, or if you do agree with juror number 7's view on how that would make a distinction here. Looks like the rest of you. And with that, I
yield my time.
I'm a little over, but thank you all.
Ms. Rowe?
Thank you.
You may inquire.
I'd just like to first start this off with informing the jury that I generally tend to work from my paperwork here. So I'm not going to be getting behind the podium quite yet. I hope that's not making anyone uncomfortable. It's easier for me to deal with everything with my paperwork in front of me. I would like to ask the question.
If only the podium had a place to put
follow up
papers.
on Mr. Fortunato's, and that is by way of hand, who would
spit it out
immediately stop recording if you were asked to do so?
Yeah, 2's like, it's the same question, same answer.
If I could ask juror number 12. Well, let me not focus on you quite yet. How many of you, by raise of hands, would look at the situation in its totality and decide for yourself whether a request to record or not record was reasonable in that situation?
Yes. He's like, yeah, that's me. 2.
Yes.
Yeah, guess what? You're not on the jury anymore.
Would you choose to immediately stop recording if you believed you had the right to do so? Or are you of the impression that if you're asked, then you just need to obey a command?
How do you answer that one?
I did hear juror number 15. You went a little more into detail and you indicated that it would kind of depend on the circumstances, depend on the rules, and depend on the person who was trying to enforce the rules. Is that correct? And it also, I believe you indicated that there are times when people might mistakenly quote rules or have a mistaken understanding of the rule. If that were the case, by show of hands, how many of you would feel that you had at least a personal right to judge the situation and then make your own decision?
Two's off. Because he was the first one to raise his hand. Everyone
Now,
else just
how
sort of
many
followed.
of you, by raise of hands, would be willing to immediately have whatever recording device you may be using controlled by another person who may ask you to stop recording? How many of you believe that someone else has the right to exert authority over your devices?
No hands.
I'm not seeing anyone's hands. As it
This is going to be relevant to the case.
I'm deducing that most of you would not agree that another individual has the right to exert control over your property without lawful authority. Is that correct? And juror number 18.
Depends on who the individual is.
Depends who it is.
What if it was a security guard?
Objection, Your Honor.
That's
This is far too close to the actual fact.
Overruled.
Could counsel approach?
Yeah.
Okay, so she said, what if it was a security guard? The prosecutor immediately objected, saying this is far too close to the actual facts of the case. Where apparently they said if it was someone of authority, that question was fine. But if they said security guard, that draws the line just a little bit too finely. So we'll see. We'll skip through the approach just a little bit. Number 2 still wiggling his feet, a little antsy. 6 is folding her arms. 5 has gotten comfortable. 2, I think he needs a bathroom break. I think that's what it is. Still approach. 2 checks his zipper. Yep, it's up. That's good. No, seriously, that's what he did. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to rewind. Sorry, number 2. This is one of those things you don't want filmed in a government building.
Roe, you may ask your next question.
By show of hand, how many of you believe that officers always get it right? By show of hands, how many of you believe that security guards always get it right? By show of hands, how many of you believe that there may be situations and circumstances where either law enforcement officers or security officers may not get it right?
Prosecution's like, oh man, I was hoping not to have that many hands.
And by show of hands, how many of you believe that both security officers, law enforcement officers, state actors, as you will, have protocols that they should abide by?
Well, they're raising their hands.
Can you tell me a reason why
Brandy
officers
Churchwell is covering the
or
Alex
state
Murdaugh
actors
sentencing.
should abide
Highly
by protocols?
suggest if you want to watch that, you
Juror
watch that on
number
her
4.
channel.
Let me start asking.
She's covering that today.
You. And we're just picking numbers in random, so please don't take any of these questions personally.
I would typically have teachers take it below to make sure that every person is treated the same way.
Everyone's treated the same way.
And
Not sure who that was.
how about your input, juror number 9? How do you feel about state actors acting according to protocol or policies?
It's the tan vest dude.
That people's personal control has to be monitored, there has to be some rule
He said auditor.
that creates expectation.
Yeah, he's seen these videos too. He used the keyword auditor. And Lady Baker's covering Murdaugh as well. That's
And
awesome.
how many of you
It's all just sentencing
believe
for his
that
guilty plea.
state actors that are not specifically law enforcement have the rights that are generally given to law enforcement officers? How many of you believe that security guards or security officers basically can act the same as law enforcement officers?
There's
I'm
a
not
difference between a
seeing
sworn
any
peace
hands.
officer
If I
and a rent-a-cop.
juror number 16, we haven't heard from you. What would you say is the difference between how law enforcement can act versus how security guards can act?
Obviously, the security guards generally can't carry a gun unless they have an armed guard license.
Trying to break in somewhere, a security guard can stay or get me away. Officer can just turn it around and handcuff you and take me away.
The officer can take you to jail. The security guard can't.
And
The
how
security
many
guard
of
can
you
just
are
detain
of
you.
the understanding that security guards have the right to personally restrain someone? Is it fair to conclude that most of you believe that when it comes to physical restraint, that role should be left to law enforcement officers? Juror number 18. So, juror number 11, what type of circumstance would be the differing?
Just, I don't know. Don't ask me those questions.
Understood. How many of you are of the understanding that, and this is just general knowledge, how many of you generally believe that a security officer versus law enforcement officer has the ability to confiscate personal items of yours? Is it safe to conclude that most of you are of the opinion that when it comes to confiscating other person's personal property, that should be left to law enforcement? Why do you have that understanding, just general understanding, juror number 2?
Law enforcement serves the public. They work under administrators that are answering to people directly. When they follow of the law, they lose the job. Security officers don't have that ability. So they're not in a position where they should be in somebody else's problem. Nobody to answer to.
Understood. How many of you agree with that general position? Were you able to hear what juror number 2 said?
Matthew Harris, this is a great video
just
idea
a little
for you.
louder? I appreciate it.
Law enforcement, although they're not directly appointed by the people, they work for people that their actions are accounted to people. A security guard is a private entity or even a private individual, and they have really no right to get somebody else's property because there's nobody accountable, nobody to answer to.
Did everyone hear
Yeah, he is so off the
juror number
jury.
2's position?
He is so
and
off
how
the
many of
jury.
you agree with that position in a general sense? Juror number 17, I've gotten some
Ms.
looks and some
Ms. Rowe,
hand.
I'm going to stop you because I'm going to read a paragraph I think that's based on what I've heard, that I think is, I just want to read this paragraph, and I'm going to give both attorneys a chance to follow questions on that. And this, if you were selected with the jury, this paragraph would be included in the opening instruction. And I just want, as you hear these questions, I just want you to keep this in mind. It will be your duty to, as a juror, to accept the law for my instructions, regardless of what you personally believe the law is or what you think it ought to be. And you are to apply the law for my instructions to the facts, and in this way decide the case. That'll be in the instruction. And so, there's some discussion going on, but I just, at the end of the evidence portion of the trial, you'll be instructed on the law. And then I just want everybody to keep that in mind. Some of you who've been jurors before already know that instruction, but with that, Ms. Rowe, I apologize for interrupting, and you may continue.
And I just have two really quick follow-up questions, and that is, how many of you believe that
you said quick
security officers are not afforded the same
authority
protections that law enforcement officers may be afforded?
Most of them.
And how many of you are aware that there are times, and just to give a hypothetical situation, where security officers may not have the right to cross a line and do actions that should be afforded to law enforcement only? So it seems that there's a pretty clear distinction with the jury pool of the roles of a security officer versus the roles of law enforcement.
Speaking objection.
Is that correct? Would most of you agree?
No Paul Blart fans out here.
My last couple of questions are, how many of you are
This is her third last question.
Adamant about what you perceive as your constitutional protections? Juror number 10. What is your
That's the lady in red. Juror number 10.
Why did you raise your hand in response to what I just asked? About being adamant about constitutional protections.
I believe the Constitution is what our country is founded on, and that in that Constitution, we as the people have the right to be protected. And part of our liberty is in that Constitution, and our protection is listed in that Constitution.
So how many of you believe that the ability to act on your own volition, and let's kind of bring it back to the recording in state buildings, how many of you believe that to a certain level that is a constitutionally protected right?
Uh-oh.
I see none of you raise your hands. So let me ask juror number 9. In the scenario where that the prosecutor laid out, and that is about recording in state buildings, do you believe there should be an absolute law, or should it go on a case-by-case scenario and be looked at in the context of what happened in that specific incident?
I guess I'm not clear.
Let me kind of play devil's advocate just quickly. I know a lot of you, juror number 15, you indicated that just because there may be a rule, that rule has caveats that basically restrict the rule. It's not just a, blatant rule. So if you were not violating any privacy issues, or if you weren't violating any confidentiality issues, do you believe then that within reason you should be able to decide if you are going to record or not to record anywhere you may be?
This would be a great question, Lene, sorry. Two can't hold
and
it much
how many
longer.
of you are of
Poor
the
guy.
opinion that even if, say you were in a state building and happened to see someone recording, that unless you exactly saw what they're recording, it's not
The end of the
that
question
that
is
would
so
depend
important.
on what they were recording? That it's not just an absolute rule that everybody has to follow at all times.
Is there a rule that says you're not supposed to record in this building? Then you shouldn't record.
Okay, and Ms. Rowe, that's 15 minutes.
Thank you.
And then,
Your 17's like,
again, we're gonna have
yes.
council approach, same rules before. Don't try and eavesdrop on what we're doing up here. It's probably gonna be a little bit longer this time, but then we'll come back in session in just a few minutes.
And if I could just take 2 seconds to confirm.
Take longer than 2 seconds.
Who do you want to strike? Like, well, I don't know. All of them look sort of bad to me. Can we just get a new panel? No, you got to go with what we got here. We already got rid of 3 of mine. No, and the first one was good. Okay, so he's saying let's keep, let's see, I want 7 because he wants to be here. There are people on the back that are saying, please, please not me, please not me, please not me. 2 is about to have an accident in his chair. He needs to be excused, or at least given the hall pass. I don't think we're going to get all the way up to 20. They need to seat 6 jurors and 1 alternate. They had 20. We've lost 3. We're down to 17. So 11, 10 people, I guess, here are not going to be in here. I think 2 is out. I think the lady in red is out because her answer about the Constitution just seemed a bit vague. And so she's sort of like a wild card. Let's see, the guy in the gray vest, I like his goatee. He's in, I think, or the tan vest. Juror number 5, I think she's got to go. I think she's got to go. Because she knows the judge. Yeah, the defendant's like, look, I can't find 6 good ones in the bunch. None of them thought it was okay to just walk in and film anywhere you wanted in a government facility. But they're going to figure this out. This is just the preemptive strikes for both sides. I'm not sure who's going to go first. I think they usually take turns back and forth. As they go through the jurors, they'll say, okay, starting with juror number 2, do you want him? And one's going to say no. I think actually the prosecution of this one will say number 2's out. And then number 3. Three's been sort of, 3's gone, but number 4 is sort of laid low, not really been volunteering a lot of information, not been asked a lot of questions. I think she's in. 5, we know too much about her. There's those connections, their spouses know the prosecution. That might be out for the defense. So there's a strike. 6, I think she's in. 7, I think the guy wants to be here. You should give him some time. He's been selected several times or called down several times, but not seated. So I think he's going to be there. 8 was already excused. 9, yeah, let's let 10 shirt guy there. 10, the red, leading red, I think she's out just for that vague question. 11, yeah, she's in. 12, I think he's probably in as well. 13, doesn't want to be here. I think she's got a work issue. I think they're going to let her go. 14 as well. How many do we have seated yet? 15, let's see. 15, I think, is in. And would that make 16 alternate? Is that how many? I'm sorry, Tony. I apologize. I don't think the last three are even going to be options. I think we'll have a seated jury for there. 8 is out for you, says L.A. or Lat Cali girl. Sorry, I struggle with the T. Don't know where to put it. Matthew Harris, do you have anyone that you would strike readily off this list other than number 2? I think he's gone for sure. After the strikes for cause, then the sides can make up their preemptory strikes without having been to give a reason. We've already got the 3 that were out for cause. A little bit of hot mic there. You only want to keep the first 6 plus the next one as an alternate. And this is for a 2-day trial. This was yesterday, and then we have the actual court happening later today. So we get to see all of it in the same day. Let's bring up a juror questionnaire. Yes, we are. This is a 4th degree assault. Thank you, Samantha Terry, for this. For those that are curious, 4th degree assault in the county of Thurston. A person is guilty of assault in the 4th degree if, under circumstances not amounting to assault in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd degree, so this is a lower level than those first 3, or custodial assault, he or she assaults another, and assault in the 4th degree is a gross misdemeanor, except as provided in subsection 3 of this section. So it's the lowest level of assault. It basically is an assault. I believe where there's no injury or marks or anything left. It's a shove, it's a push, it's a punch that doesn't ring anybody's bell, and just it's a scuffle. That's what it would be. So that's the charge. Can I fast forward? Yes, I do have that button. Sorry, my bad. We're sitting here in real time watching something that's a while ago. Oh, here we go.
Thank you all. Okay, so we're going to come back into session. And so what's going to happen now, well, first thing I'm going to do is thank you all for participating in the jury selection process.
Well, it's glad.
In a minute, I'm going to read off the numbers of the folks who are going to serve as jurors in this case. If you were selected or not selected, you might be disappointed. You might be relieved. Yeah, you never really know. But if you were not selected, I do want to thank you all for participating in the selection process, because even if you were not selected, your presence was necessary and essential to complete the selection process. And so thank you again.
Bad ones to find the good ones.
Jurors who are going to sit in this case, in the order that I call you, again, you're going to have a different number. The first person sit under seat 1, and then 2, and then the same order that I call you. The jurors who are going to sit on this case, there's juror number 4.
Yes, 2 is out.
Come forward.
You left your paper.
Juror number 6.
5's out. So far, so good.
Juror number 7.
7's in. Yes. He's like, yes, finally.
Juror number 9.
9's in, like the tan vest.
Juror number 11.
The red lady in red's out.
And juror number 15.
Oh man, I was wrong. 15's in.
And then the alternate is going to be juror number 16. You come forward, sir.
17 was sweating it there just a little bit. Everybody else, thanks for nothing. You can go home now. Juror number 2. The bathroom's down the hall on your right.
And I'm going to take my chair off my robe. It's the first thing I'm going to do. Then I'm going to stand up. I'm going to have all the jurors in the box stand up. Raise your right hand. All of you see.
2 is crying
tears of relief. Swear and affirm that you will fairly try the issues in this case according to the evidence and on the instructions from the court. If so, please answer by saying "I will." You could be seated. Anybody unable or unwilling to answer affirmatively to that question? And so, thank you. Just
I hope
stand
number
by
7's the foreman.
For everybody else, you are all free to go. Your term of jury service is complete. You're all free to stay too if you like. No one ever does when I make that offer, but you're already headed for the door. But thank you again for your presence.
They all left their swag bags on the floor.
And as I said, your term of jury service is complete.
They're like, I'm out of here. See ya. All right. So today, before we go to lunch, do we still get lunch? No, there's no lunch. No lunch for you.
So what we're going to do right now is we've been in session for a long time.
This is how it works.
And so we're going to take a short break. You're going to go back. The clerk is going to take you back to the jury room, get you acquainted with that. There's water back there if you would like, and you're going to get
free water.
Juror pin, I think. And then you're going to come back in. You'll hear an opening instruction from me, and then you'll hear opening statement from counsel, and then we'll break for the day to be back in session at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So she'll take you back there. It'll be short, maybe 5 minutes or so. And you guys can move your chairs around, and then I'll be back in 5 minutes or so.
Who's this dude?
Yes.
Oh, he's wearing his hat and everything. Oh.
Okay, thank you.
It's his friend.
Be careful. Yes, you can.
It's his
there,
friend.
Mr. Farley, just be
and
careful.
compatriot.
To avoid any,
fellow
any
conspirator,
contact
possibly.
from any jurors.
Not a problem.
Potential witness?
And
Potential
we're still
witness?
on the record in the courtroom.
Yeah.
This is here we are shuffling all the papers back to the other side. The hardest part is getting the mouse cables not tangled up with the power cables. This is actually how the jury process works to some extent or another. Basically, the process we saw is what plays out in other places. Some places it takes a lot longer, and the way that jurors are brought in are different. In most places, it happens off camera, and sometimes even out of the public eye. But this is. Yes, maybe it's his dad. I think that generally this YouTuber, the one we're talking about, the defendant, generally he does have somebody else with him that participates in these videos. Gerda, yeah, it's an interesting process. It really is. There
was one thing that I made a mistake on, but it's not the end all to be on, but I couldn't see the numbers right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
it sucked because it's apparently, I'm sure it's probably too late to try to correct it now. I don't think the court is going to allow that, but I just got the number wrong.
She struck the wrong juror.
I just started going 20 and then going back because it was so difficult with the glare.
It was so difficult to see that, and I
what.
really wanted to.
Are you
Life is not going to stop, but it kind of pisses me off.
It's not going to stop for you, but your client might end up in
I read
jail.
a number wrong.
Yeah.
I read a number wrong.
Yeah. But I think it's try to be more succinct in the jury questions.
The boss is like,
Just try to get.
just give me some pointers, young lad. Be more succinct. Yeah, she admitted it. It's on the record. It's on the record. I made a mistake. I struck the wrong juror. Now we have somebody on here, or I forgot to strike the right juror. Whoa. It's not gonna make or break her day, but it might ruin her client's day. Aussie Gardner, happy birthday. I'm sorry we missed you on the birthday song this morning. Hope you have a great one. Okay, we're going to fast forward a little bit because we have opening statements. The jury is right now being acquainted with the water fountain in the jury room, which is, I believe, one of their only perks. Well, let's see. Yeah, they're definitely together. Possibly related. Father and son, brothers, friends. They've got the same the facial adornment, the hirsute facial adornment. Defendant is ready for his day. Ready for his day. He can feel that this is the moment. He's like, "Do you want me to film this? Do you want me to film?" Oh yeah. Let's start the recorder. The attorney's like, "Look, I don't want to know about it. If you record, what you do is up to you." Basically, what's happening right now, because the three of them are sitting together, even though she's conferring with the client, it is now public record. I mean, not public record, but it's conversation that is open for overhearing, and the attorney-client privilege is not there because there are three people there. R.A.'s beard is about to become R.A.'s former beard. It's getting there. It's getting to the annoying stage. ZZ Top have let themselves go. They're missing about half their beards if they're ZZ Top. Okay, we're going to skip ahead just a little bit. We want to hear the opening statements, and then, of course, we do have court starting today. Okay, they're going to take
And
their
it's
seats.
like, I'm sure it's not going to make a big difference, but I would like to know, just so that I can avoid this happening in the future. But I could not see the jurors. Are we back on the record?
I don't
Sorry.
know. My microphone's on, so it looks like it. What's your question?
I read a number wrong. I couldn't see the numbers clearly. And I just don't know how to circumvent that in the future.
Well,
you can count the seats.
Because it's really hard to see.
Maybe you could stand up
when we come up
ma'am.
to your podium. And
well, what you could have done, I mean, I don't know how to fix that now.
Describe the individual based on the
but
clothing they were wearing.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of times people do this, they go back to counsel table in between each peremptory. You can certainly do that. Sometimes they go back and consult with their client or consult with co-counsel or whatever. And so I would think that would be one way to deal with it in the future. But as far as when I'm here, you're always welcome to do that. Or even ask and just say, that person down there, what person is that number, or something like that. So that would be my response to that.
So we might have an auditor auditing the proceedings.
oh, and just to
There may
give
be
the
a camera
court
filming this from
this
the back.
information also, and I'd like to reserve my opening until
That's fine.
after the state has.
That's totally fine.
So that's what I would be seeking.
Okay. And so,
Tell me you're
but
not
I
prepared
will
without
say,
telling me you're
though,
not prepared.
If that's the case, since you don't have any other witnesses, if I'm letting you know this up front, if Mr. Prowler chooses not to testify, then you don't give an opening statement. You don't get to give an opening statement if you're not presenting any evidence. See what I mean? Because an opening statement is designed to let the jurors know what evidence is going to be presented. And so if the state concludes its case and then you give an opening statement and don't call anybody, that's almost kind of like a peremptory argument. And so if you want to give an opening statement, you can reserve your opening statement until the conclusion of the state's case. That's fine. But like I say, if he's not going to testify and I'm not answering you, then I'm not going to allow an opening statement. We'll proceed straight to argument.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I do understand.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
No opening if you have no case in chief. So the opening is different than the closing. Remember, in the closing, they can pretty much say whatever they want. They can make weird arguments and everything else. But the opening is basically like reading the table of contents and the first paragraph of each of your witnesses. It's letting them know, prepping the jury for what they're about to hear from your side. And apparently they might not hear anything from that side. Okay, we're going to fast forward just a little bit and get to the talky parts.
Case
Oops, here we go.
statement, then we proceed with the case. Totally fine. I'm saying to give an opening statement list.
I'm backing up a little bit.
You had said you wanted to reserve your opening statement. I said, that's fine. Of course you can do that. But if you're not presenting any evidence, then and you don't have any witnesses list, then you don't get to give an opening statement and then not present any evidence. Unless you give it at the beginning, when the state gives their opening statement, you can give your opening statement, then we proceed with the case. Totally fine. I'm saying is if reserve at the end, wait till the state's case is over, then want to give your opening statement, but don't call any witnesses, then that's inappropriate. That's all I'm saying.
Understood. Yeah.
So does that change whether or not you're going to give an opening statement now or not? So we're going to do that now. We're going to hear from please rise. I'm just kidding, Mindy. Come on in, take a seat.
Yes, I will likely then give an opening.
You will give an opening statement now then?
Yes.
Okay, fine, perfect.
All right. Opening statement is back on the books for the defense. Matthew's giving a little advice, little insider baseball tips.
And again, just to say, have we been on the record this time?
Yes, we have. Good. Your Honor, we've heard the whole thing.
And so, and again, an opening statement is designed to let the jurors know what evidence is going to be presented. And if you get to the point where at the beginning, you can certainly do that. But if you wait till the state case is over, then you're not presenting any evidence. So then an opening statement would not be appropriate.
She's not listening.
So with that,
she's like,
all the jurors in.
I'm busy. All right. So this is in Washington. We're in, I think it's Tumwater. Tumwater, Washington is the city where this offense allegedly occurred. We're in Thurston County, which is where the courthouse is. It's a county courthouse. The defendant is all the way on the left. I think it's a friend or a co-conspirator or something in the back there. That's somebody that's with the defendant. The jury has just been impaneled. They're walking in right now. They're going to be seated off to our right on the screen. The defendant is a YouTuber. He has a channel. I think it's called Pacific Northwest Transparency or something like that, where he does First Amendment audits. Basically, he walks into places, businesses, churches, things like that, and films, or he goes to places where he believes he's in public and has the right to film, and he films and oftentimes incites or encourages. I have to be careful how I use the word.
You can be seated.
Causes an altercation to occur, or looks for a chance for an altercation to occur in the film's process.
I'm going to give you an opening instruction with regard to this case. This is an instruction that's to exist and be in place throughout the entire trial. I hope to remind you of it. It would be great, and certainly be reminding you of it before we break this evening. So I'm going to explain to you the procedure that we're going to follow during this trial. First, the prosecuting attorney is going to make an opening statement outlining the testimony of witnesses or other evidence that he expects to be presented during the trial. The defense attorney may then make an opening statement or may choose to make an opening statement at a later time. Next, the prosecuting attorney will present the testimony of witnesses or other evidence to you. And when the prosecuting attorney has finished, the defense attorney may, but need not, present the testimony of witnesses or other evidence. Each witness who testifies may be cross-examined by the lawyer for the other side. Next, when all the evidence has been presented to you, I will instruct you on what law applies to this case. I will read the instructions to you, and you will have copies of the written instructions with you in the jury room during deliberations. And after that, the lawyers will make closing arguments. Finally, you will be taken to the jury room by the clerk, where you will select a presiding juror. The presiding juror will preside over your discussions of this case, and until you are in the jury room for those deliberations, you must not discuss the case with other jurors or with anyone else, or remain within hearing distance of anyone discussing it. It is your duty as a jury to decide the facts in this case based on the evidence presented to you during this trial. Evidence includes the testimony of witnesses, documents, and physical objects. It is also your duty to accept the law for my instructions, regardless of what you personally believe the law is or what you think it ought to be. And you're to apply the law for my instructions to the facts, and in this way, decide the case. The only evidence you are to consider consists of testimony of witnesses and exhibits admitted into evidence. When witnesses testify, please listen very carefully. You will need to remember testimony during your deliberations because testimony will rarely, if ever, be repeated for you. Any exhibits admitted into evidence will go to the jury room with you during your deliberations. The lawyer's remarks, statements, and arguments are intended to help you understand the evidence and apply the law. However, the lawyer's statements are not evidence or the law, and you must disregard anything the lawyers say that is at odds with the evidence or the law in my instructions. You may hear objections made by lawyers during trial. Each party has the right to object to questions asked by another lawyer and may have a duty to do so. These objections should not influence you. Do not make any assumptions or draw any conclusions based on a lawyer's objections. One of my duties as judge is to decide whether or not evidence should be admitted during this trial. Do not be concerned about the reasons for my rulings, and you must not consider or discuss any evidence that I do not admit or that I tell you to disregard. Our state constitution prohibits a trial judge from making a comment on the evidence, and because it is your role to evaluate the evidence, it would be improper for me to express by words or conduct my personal opinion about the value of a particular witness's testimony or an exhibit. I will not intentionally do this. If it appears to you that I have indicated in any way my personal opinion concerning evidence, you must disregard this entirely. You will be allowed to take notes during trial. Whether or not you do so is entirely your own decision. If you do choose to take notes, you should make sure that it does not interfere with your ability to listen to and observe the witnesses. You must not discuss your notes with anyone or show your notes to anyone until you begin deliberating on your verdict, and this includes other jurors. During your deliberations, you may discuss your notes with other jurors or show your notes to them. You're not to assume that your notes are necessarily more accurate than your memory. I am allowing you to take notes to assist you in remembering clearly and not to substitute for your memory. You're also not to assume that your notes are more accurate than the memories or notes of other jurors. Throughout this trial, you must come and go directly from the jury room. Do not remain in the hall or courtroom, as witnesses and parties may not recognize you as a juror, and you may accidentally overhear some discussion about this case. I have instructed the lawyers, parties, and witnesses not to talk to you during the trial. It is essential to a fair trial that everything you learn about this case comes to you in this courtroom and only in this courtroom. You must not allow yourself to be exposed to any outside information about this case. Do not permit anyone to discuss or comment about it in your presence. And you must keep your mind free of outside influences so that your decision will be based entirely on the evidence presented during the trial and on my instructions to you about the law. Until you are dismissed at the end of this trial, you must avoid outside sources such as newspapers, magazines, the internet, or radio or television broadcasts which may discuss this case or issues involved in this trial. Having said that, I'm pretty confident that there's not going to be any media coverage of this particular case.
Really?
Folks who are in the courtroom now, or the
Your Honor?
parties, as well as
Really?
jurors. But that's still an important instruction. We live in an age where one can access the internet through one's phone and can consult all kinds of resources and materials. And don't do any research on any terms you may have heard, or there's been some discussion about the law. Do not research that. There's been discussion about people's rights and things of that sort. Don't research that.
His YouTube channel is right here.
I'm also going to advise you against
I'm going to keep this audio going from
participating in any social
I'm gonna show you
media
his channel
about this
really quickly.
trial. There's a case I read about not too long ago where someone was
Pacific Northwest
posting on-
Transparency.
I can't remember the social website, but they were actually posting from the jury room. Don't do that. And don't post at home about this trial. Hey, I got selected. Here's what the case is about. Don't do any of that either. I'm pretty confident that when you get home, your loved ones, families, or friends are going to ask you, hey, what happened today? Did you get, and you can say, yes, I got selected. I guarantee you the very next question you're going to get is, what's the case about? And I'm going to give you a very specific answer to that question. And that answer is, it's a criminal case. So you can say, yes, you were selected, and you were selected for a criminal case. Don't go any further than that. Because what might happen is someone might, you tell them about the case, and you've heard a little bit about the case so far, but not too much. They might say, oh gosh, that's really interesting. I know someone who, and then they'll launch into a whole series of things that are inappropriate for you to hear and may affect your ability to continue to serve on this jury. So again, I'm going to repeat it because it's important. You were selected for a criminal case. Don't go anything beyond that. Conclusion of this case, all this goes away. But for now, limit yourself to those two answers when asked about what's happening here today. Until you're dismissed at the end of this trial, I already read that. And then it's dated. You can tell how dated it is because it references newspaper and magazines, which very few people get their information from that these days. During the trial, do not try and determine on your own what the law is. Do not seek out any evidence on your own. Do not consult any reference materials such as dictionaries, another outmoded reference source, and the like, and do not inspect the scene of any event involved in this case. And if your ordinary travel will result in the passing or seeing of the location of any event involved in this case, do not stop to try and investigate. Throughout this trial, you must maintain an open mind. You must not form any firm or fixed opinion about any issue in the case until the entire case has been submitted to you for deliberation. As jurors, you are officers of this court, and as such, you must not let your emotions overcome your rational thought process. You must reach your decision based on the facts proved to you and on the law given to you, not on sympathy, prejudice, or personal preference. And to assure that all parties reach a fair trial, you must act impartially and with an earnest desire to reach a just and proper verdict. And that's the opening instruction. Again, I'm going to remind you of that opening instruction. I hope to remind you at every break we take. But for now, would you please give your attention to Mr. Fortunato for his opening statement on behalf of the city of Tumwater. Mr. Fortunato.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Here we go. Opening statements. Please be loud. Please let us hear it.
Good afternoon, jurors. On behalf of the city of Tumwater, I want to thank you all for being here today. On the afternoon of July 20th, 2023, Mr. Jeremiah Farley, the defendant in this case, was told to remove his recording device at the Department of Social and Health Services office in Tumwater, Washington. After receiving requests to discontinue such recording, he assaulted Mr. Randy Rainey, the security guard present at the scene. Evidence will show beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Farley did assault Mr. Rainey in the city of Tumwater on July 20th, 2023. You will hear from 3 witnesses: Tumwater Police Department Officer Peter Navarro, Mr. Samuel Kirkley, and Mr. Randy Rainey himself. You will hear from Tumwater Police Department Officer Peter Navarro, who is one of the present law enforcement officers on the scene investigating the incident. You will hear from Mr. Samuel Kirkley. He will testify that he was present at the Department of Social and Health Services office, which I'll be referring to as the DSHS office throughout the duration of this case, on July 20th, 2023. He heard a verbal argument between Mr. Farley and a security guard. Mr. Farley refused to stop video recording within the DSHS office. Mr. Sam Kirkley observed a security guard grab for Mr. Farley's phone. Mr. Farley then struck and shoved the security guard. Patrons of the office appeared to be visibly displeased with Mr. Farley. You'll hear from Mr. Randy Rainey. He will testify that he was a security guard working at the DSHS office in Tumwater on the afternoon of July 20th, 2023. That he observed a man using a recording device within his office, in Tumwater. That the man denied having an appointment at the DSHS office that day. That he requested the man could discontinue recording per office rules. That the man refused to put away his recording device despite several reminders. Mr. Rainey then reached towards the recording device. Upon doing so, the man struck and shoved Mr. Rainey. You will see video footage taken from Mr. Farley's recording device that captured much of this incident. After hearing all the evidence, I will again be before you and ask you to find Mr. Rainey, or rather Mr. Farley's, guilty.
Find Mr. Rainey guilty. Whoops. Sorry, Mr. Prosecutor.
As I said, the defense attorney may
find the guy who says he got assaulted guilty.
Give attention to Ms. Rowe for her opening statement on behalf of Mr. Farley. Ms. Rowe?
Thank you.
You can see much better from up here.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you, first of all, for being here. We really do appreciate you serving your country in this way. It's one of the foundational tools of our democracy, and it's very appreciated. What we have here is an incident involving a rogue security officer.
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
Sustained.
I'm going to overrule the objection, and then in the opening statement, it indicated the attorney's statements are not the law. Just remind the jury are the facts of the law. Just remind the jury of that opening instruction. And with that, Ms. Rowe, you may continue.
I think that should have been sustained.
What we have here is a security officer's actions that went wrong. We are going to hear evidence, as the state just indicated, that there was an incident that occurred at the DSHS office between Mr. Farley and the on-site security guard at that time. Just as the state indicated, this incident entailed this security guard lunging, and we believe the video will also show that the security guard lunged at Mr. Farley before he had even truly entered into the public lobby at the DSHS building. Lunged for his phone, Mr. Farley's phone, twice. And it was actually the security guard that assaulted Mr. Farley. In this case, unfortunately, the video and the testimony, we believe, will show that in this case, the state got it wrong. In this case, the security officer actually assaulted Mr. Farley. As the state indicated, it was the security officer's intent to gain control over Mr. Farley's personal property. In doing so, Mr. Farley acted in a reasonable manner to protect not only his person, but also his personal property. There is video that will be shown of the incident and where the incident occurs. The evidence will show that where this incident occurred, it wasn't anywhere near where Mr. Farley would have been given notice that behind a certain area of the DSHS lobby, their recording video is prohibited. Well, the evidence and the video itself will show Mr. Farley didn't even get into the lobby in it or near the area where the signs that posted no video recording were posted. He had no notice. We'll hear testimony that Mr. Farley was in a public building, in a public space, and he was well within his right to video and record on his personal device. We believe that at the end of the state's case and at the end of this case, you will find it hard to find that Mr. Farley, find beyond a reasonable doubt that it was Mr. Farley who was the aggressor and who assaulted the security officer. We believe that at the conclusion of the trial, after all the evidence that's been presented to the jury, you will find that Mr. Farley is innocent of assaulting a security officer. Thank you.
Nice, short, and sweet. That brings us, I believe, to about the end of the day.
The jury, you're going to be excused for the day, and tomorrow we'll start testimony at 9 a.m. If I can instruct you all to be back in the jury room there at 8:50, and then we'll be ready to go at 9 a.m. We'll begin with testimony. The instruction that is gave, particularly about answers to the questions you're inevitably going to get when you get home, remain in place. Again, selected for a criminal trial. And that's it, leave it at that. And then have a good evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow at 8. Again, be in the jury room at 8:50. We'll start with testimony at 9.
Let's see, 8:50. What time is it? Where's Siri when I need her? Hey, Siri, what time is it in Tumwater, Washington right now?
In Tumwater, Washington, it's 7:47.
Okay, so we have 1 hour before court starts, and that's when the jury's supposed to be back in the office. So we get our lunch break early.
Are we still on the record? Yeah. Great. You can be seated. There's a couple things I want to put on the record before we break for today. The first is, before the attorneys began their voir dire process, we had a sidebar. At that sidebar, it was agreed by all parties, I think, that jurors number 1, 3, and 8 would be excused for hardship, and then they were excused. At the conclusion of the voir dire from the attorneys, there was another sidebar. At that sidebar, juror number
5.
13 was excused for hardship. Both parties exercised their peremptories. There were no objection, GR 37 or any other sort of objection to either party's peremptories, and neither party made any motion for jurors for cause. Does that accurately represent what went on at sidebar? And if I missed anything, either party can let me know.
It does accurately reflect that, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And the only thing the state would add, Your Honor, was we actually were under the impression that these were recorded by the judge's microphone, which is why we did not raise the issue earlier.
Well, they may or may not have been, we're kind of whispering in an effort to keep it quiet,
Yes.
but I just want to put everything on the record out loud just to make sure that there's no misunderstanding about what went on there.
Oh, the state agrees. We just wanted to make sure that it was at least indicated of why the state didn't raise the issue of updating the record with the sidebars.
Fine. And so then we can go off the record. And
And there we go, off the record. Okay, so now we're at lunch. This we get 1 day. This whole trial should take 1 day. There's a possibility it can stretch into Wednesday morning, but more than likely tonight we'll have a verdict in this trial. And the one thing I love about this trial is how quick these trials are. We can get the whole thing and not miss anything. Get it all in one bunch. The bad thing is every time the judge stands up, they go off the record, and because they think there's no media watching. They're like, I don't see any cameras, so clearly no one's watching us online. Then we have zero warning. They just start up live, and I have to be sitting there waiting patiently. So we'll get it. We'll get everything. Don't worry, we're not going to miss a thing. Let me check and see if the court is now already getting ready for the day. Let's see. So we don't have any new videos yet. This is the same courtroom that Mr. Farrak was supposed to show up in after they broke for lunch and then he never returned. What is the auditor's screen name? The auditor's screen name is right here. Pacific Northwest Transparency. That's his channel. He has looks like about let's see. He's picked up about 20 subscribers. I think that's a few of you might have found him. He was at 9.1 when we started. Now he's at 9.12, which is great. Interesting work. And what he does here is sort of like the same sort of thing at each video. And I recognize that some of these videos are going to have some content that might not be family friendly, just so you know. But he causes, or he goes to locations where it creates a stir, where him showing up is somewhat problematic, or people think that it's problematic, and so he goes and then he films this, and then he puts the videos up on. You can see it's very clickbaity as far as his thumbnails go, and the more action, the more confrontational the video, the better for him. We see you watch some. Yes, I've watched some. This DSH, this is an update. He did an update about this exact thing. You can see that he's in the back of the car there. This is him being arrested. This is the security guard he allegedly struck. And he's got audio. He's got a bunch of things. I think if you go back further, there's another. Let's see. There's some more. That's not the one. McDonald's passed. He went and filmed getting, I don't know, a coffee and a hash brown or something. I don't know what it was he was doing. Tumwater Parks and Rec. He went there. He filmed that one. West Side Olympia. This happened back in July. Let's see. He's been at the post office. Goes in the post office. Likes to film there. They usually have problems with that. First Security Bank. He filmed a fire truck. That's pretty cool. Lots of things here that Tumwater Public Library. It's showing where all the books are kept in case you've never been inside one of those. City Hall, all those. So he's got all these types of videos. This is what he does. He's got 91 videos up. And one video specifically, it's the DSHS, I think, is where... no, Reverend, I don't think it's political. It's it's a constitutional nature. I think we stay far enough away from the political side. Constitution, not political. I realize that oftentimes those two lines are blurred, but I think in this line, the defendant is not making a political statement with anything he does. It's strictly on the constitutional side. So I think I side with him. There are other First Amendment auditors or Second Amendment auditors. Second Amendment is where they do the same thing, but they follow the letter of the law involving firearms, and then participate in a similar activity, being in public places with a firearm that tends to cause a stir, and then they film the reaction. And generally they do that in a legal manner, and that gets a little riskier because you have police involved and people making calls. A lot of times, we know from just watching court, a witness to a crime oftentimes sees something or thinks they saw something that didn't happen, or in their head they think they're seeing something that is not actually what is occurring. So that's a little more dangerous situation. But Let's see, a good auditor. Look up Long Island audit. I think I'm a fan, okay, of the underlying thought that is prevalent in this gentleman's work, and that is that a right not exercised is a right that's soon lost. And so if none of us exercise the right to free speech, when we would eventually that right could be whittled down and gotten rid of. The First Amendment specifically, for those who are not U.S. citizens or up to speed on the Constitution and the amendments thereto, the First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right to the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So Congress can't make any law that limits the establishment of religion, the right to exercise, the free exercise of your religion, cut back your freedom of speech or the press or the right to the people to assemble together peaceably or to petition the government for change. So that's the First Amendment. And wrapped up in the First Amendment, the Supreme Court has ruled that filming, just standing there and filming and observing, is a form of free speech. It's a form of free speech. And so what you have is you have these auditors who go somewhere where they are allowed to be or on the edge of where they're allowed to be and do something that takes that freedom, obviously, to the limits of the freedom, but within, according to their understanding, within that realm. So anyone can be an auditor. Yes, it's not. There's no course. There's no schooling. There's no test or certification needed. Anyone can be an auditor. Just know that in some cases you might also become a defendant if you do it wrong and are caught. Any citizen can record and are considered the press. Yes, the same thing. There's no governing body that determines who the press is. The Associated Press might think otherwise, but it's not a government recognized position of being the press. Anyone can be the press if they want to share opinions, and they can do it however they want. All right, anyone can get arrested too. Yes, and some people learn that the hard way. So we have an hour. Let's take an early lunch. And come back in 45 minutes. Does that work? If we come back in 45 minutes, court should be in session. I don't think this gentleman is going to skip out like Mr. Farag did. I think he's actually going to be there, and this is going to be entertaining. I'm not sure if we're going to get to see the video directly because this system, like Zoom, is an afterthought. And the cameras are pointed where the cameras are pointed. So I'm not sure if we're going to get to see the video or if we just get to hear what happens. I'm hoping we get to see and hear both, but I'm not holding my breath for that. But either way, eventually I think the video is going to be posted on his YouTube channel if it hasn't been posted already. So let's do this. Let's see. I realized as you read it that it had been conflating two concepts, but it had always been since there was a delineation. Yeah, it's sometimes there's not. Sometimes the constitutional issues and political issues are blurred to a point where there's no separating the two. But I don't think this case is one of those. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? For those that are watching, I think if you're watching the Alex Murdaugh sentencing, I think it's going on right now. Brandy Churchwell is showing that. I can port you over to her for that, and if you want to come back after lunch for the second half of this, that's fine. Otherwise, you can catch it on the replay. I'm not too worried either way. Let's see. Where's Brandy? There she is. Okay, so I can port us over to Brandy for the Alex Murdaugh sentencing and victim impact statements, which are going on right now, and we will do that. We'll be back in about 45 minutes to have part 2, or the live portion of this First Amendment auditor assault charge trial, and we'll see how it ends. We'll see if juror number 7 ends up being the foreman, which I'm hoping out for. It would be awesome. It would make the guy's day if he gets to be the foreman. Court's going to be back in just 50 minutes. We'll be back in 45. Does that work? So we'll be we'll be ready to go then. Appreciate you guys being here. This is one of the fun. I think it's the best place to watch true crime on the internet, and it's because of all of you. Thank you to my amazing mods who are wonderful, not just at welcoming people, but helping the chat flow smoothly, to making it all happen. Let's see. Matthew Harris, legal content. He has some great content out there related to this very issue about filming the police and things like that. And I'm sure there'll be more videos coming related to this as well. So do go give his channel a watch. He'll have a new video that drops, I think, on Thursday. So watch out for that one as well. You want to be subscribed and ring the bell for sure. Love his work. I think that's it. Greg Anderson was amazing last night, sharing information over there on Megan Fox's channel. A little interview. It was incredible to see a little bit behind the scenes of that information, that filing that came out yesterday. We will have more, I'm sure. But until then, have a great lunch. We'll see you after lunch. If tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe. We'll go live again in about 45 minutes. I'll put the placeholder up, and the first person in chat, as always, will win the internet. If you want to be that person, just make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, and then just be the first person to say anything at all in chat. You choose what to say. As long as it comes in first, you'll win the internet. It's that simple. So we'll be back for part dos 2. I tried to use a foreign language, and I'm not sure if I did any of them right. But part 2 comes after lunch. We'll see you guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Because he's the guy.